Okay, Postal Service is nearing default as losses mount. New York Times. Before I read that little article, another site, maybe NBC or CNBC, something, had the same kind of similar article, but they had one little paragraph that was a little bonus. And it says, missing the $5.5 billion payment, which is due on September 30th, intended to finance retirees' future health care in the Postal Service, won't cause immediate disaster. But sometime early next year, the agency will run out of money to pay its employees and gas up its trucks, officials warned, forcing it to stop delivering the roughly 3 billion pieces of mail it handles weekly. So, I'm thinking to myself, WebBot. Twofold WebBot hit. Not necessarily a hit, but bear with me. A while ago, like 2009, Cliff High, owner of the WebBot, talks about, he mentions on a radio show something about mortgages, like paying your mortgage is not going to really matter at one point in the near future. So it won't even matter. So I was like, well, what does he mean by that? And I was able to ask a question on the message board when he was on another show, saying, hey, I remember you said that last show or whatever. Can you elaborate? What do you mean by that? Why did you mention mortgages specifically? And so the host asked him, and he basically said, well, there's not a whole lot of data around that, but it was there. So it was definitely enough hits for me to report it in the report. Or on the show at least, so that's why I said it. But what it is, he said, the only way I can describe it, and this is my interpretation, that's what he said, his interpretation, is that you get bills in the mail. Credit card bill, water bill, electric bill, right? It comes in the mail, you need to pay it. Basically, he said the best way to describe this, although this may not be how it goes down, what would happen if the bill stopped coming? Well, you wouldn't pay it. You wouldn't know what to pay, because you didn't get a bill. And if you don't get a bill, legally speaking, you don't really have to pay that, because it shows that they didn't try to collect from you. So they can never go to court without showing the court that hey, I've been sending this guy bills every month, here's the proof, we've sent some certified, whatever, here's the proof. That's what I'm thinking. So what he said is basically, just picture that. It's that you just wait for me to interpret it, even though that's probably not going to be the right way. Same result. The bills don't get paid. If you don't get it in the mail, you ain't paying it. So I've been thinking about that for a while. And, of course, I'm looking now at how many millions of people aren't paying their mortgages, still living in their houses, and aren't even being bothered. Some people are. But the people who are upside down, which is most people who are not paying, a lot of them aren't getting bothered by the mortgage companies. So I thought to myself, well, maybe that's part of what he was talking about. People just decide, hey, I'm not paying it. I can't pay it, or I won't pay it, or whatever the reason. That's it. So this twofold thing I'm telling you about is interesting, because he was talking about as a precursor event to, we'd see the $5 a day silver. We already saw that, by the way. It's already happened. It was short and brief when silver was in the 30s, and it rapidly went up to 50 in April, whatever it was, the last day of April, or January, February, March. Maybe it was March, whatever. After the $50 crash, it was $49, and then went back down to 32. We had a few $5 days. Not necessarily a $5 move straight up, but it may have went up 250, then back down 250. A $5 move is what he was talking about. It has already happened. I did videos prior to this one right now, and prior to that event happening, talking about that, saying, hey, that's going to be an interesting thing to look for. Sure enough, it happened. It'll be happening again here shortly. And he mentioned that the blue bankruptcy, or the blue financial crisis of some sort, blue bankruptcy / some kind of, I don't remember the exact term, would be a precursor. In other words, hey, if that happens, when that happens, we talked about $5 moves, yeah, sometime near future after that point. I thought he said, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I thought he said in one of his fairly recent interviews that we would see the $20 per day moves in silver. But I think also we had to hear from that general who comes out to some press conference and decides to not really talk about what they think he's going to talk about and changes the subject to the sun and how the military and the government is watching the sun very closely, and there's some issues it's going to be causing on Earth, and he decides to use his news time in front of the camera to discuss his concerns, which was completely like baffling everyone because that's not what he was supposed to get up there and talk about, but he does anyways. That's another event of precursor. Doesn't mean anything, the event itself, other than when that happens, we know we're along the timeline of what the webbot's talking about, somewhere in this neighborhood. I thought that should be in the same neighborhood as the blue bankruptcy thing, also somewhere close to each other. I haven't seen the general come out yet, but the blue bankruptcy is the post office, and he was on a radio show not that long ago where some of the news stories that were coming out he touched upon, and it was a hit. He already said, yeah, that's exactly what it was. The blue bankruptcy, we already told you, was the post office. In webbot terms, it just called it the blue bankruptcy or whatever, but he knew that's what it was and said that's what we'd be looking out for. Now, what are the uniforms that they wear? Blue uniforms. Here we are, $5.5 billion payment due in September 30th, this month, later this month, that may not be able to be made. And if it doesn't, the retirees' health insurance, future health care, is gone. How's that government working out for you? How's those pensions and all these promises the government made for you? How is that working out for you? They didn't make me any promises, so I don't care. But those of you who had a pension and this and that, and I put in my time, and you'll be out in the streets riding, furious, while I will be packing my bags heading up to Straightway area, within a few miles anyways. But let me go ahead and read this article. Postal Service is nearing default as losses mount. The United States Postal Service has long lived on the financial edge, but it has never been as close to the precipice as it is today. The agency is so low on cash that it will not be able to make a $5.5 billion payment due this month and may have to shut down entirely this winter unless Congress takes emergency action to stabilize its finances. Our situation is extremely serious, the Postmaster General Patrick R. Donahue said in an interview. If Congress doesn't act, we will default. That's what he said. Now, chances are that Congress probably will act. Perfect timing. We need to bail out this industry. We need to bail out the post office. We need more money for the bankers. We need TARP 2.0 on fire. QE3 like you've never seen. Something. And use that to help pay some of these bills. Chances are they're not going to let the post office collapse. But this news is what the webbot would easily say this is a hit. Because once we forecast something, and then it comes out in the news and talks all about that, of course out in the future, before these people even knew they'd be writing this article, that's considered a hit. So again, even if the post office doesn't actually default 100%, the fact that it's here, they're in default now because they can't pay the $5.5 billion health payment due for their retirees. You're in default at that point. You're at that red line, practically. And later this year, they'll done unless Congress takes emergency actions. That's what it says. That's all that needs to be said for me and people who follow the webbot to understand exactly how the webbot works. That's what we were looking for. That's the precursor event. Sometime in the near future, don't know how soon, I don't, $20 per day moves in silver. It may be next year, deep into next year. I don't know. But think about that. A $20 move in silver in one day. Can you imagine? When you see $20 moves in silver, it may probably start out, okay, silver's $70 in 2012, and wow, it's doing great, and then all of a sudden, the thing in the COMEX or whatever, something happens, boom, it explodes $20, it's up to $90. Whoa, no one saw that, what the hell's going on? From there on out, it's going to jump into the hundreds. Not necessarily within days, but you're going to see that kind of move, just big moves. You may see a bunch of $5 a day moves, $5 that day, another $4 that day, $6 that day, till it just hits like a $20 move, and then all of a sudden, we've never had a $20 move in silver ever. You know, we broke that record, and wow, we didn't see that coming, and then it just does it again, and then $20 day moves becomes normal. This could be 2 years out. It could be a year out. I don't know. I only know what I'm looking at for this timeline. Here's one of the pieces of that timeline. I still need to see the general, physical army general, whatever you want to call it, military general, as I explained before, has to come out and speak about some very disturbing problems with the sun that they're concerned about. It may not be breaking news to anyone even watching it. He may just nonchalantly get up and talk about it. Yeah, we're kind of concerned. And when that happens, if I don't catch it and you do, you better let me know so that I can do a video immediately if I missed it. Chances are to be all of the alternative media at that point, you know, because everyone's going to say, hey, Webbot hit, you know. But, you know, send me something if that's the case. So, let me continue this. It's not that long. In recent weeks, Mr. Donahue has been pushing a series of painful cost-cutting measures to erase the agency's deficit, which will reach $9.2 billion. Deficit will reach $9.2 billion this fiscal year. They include eliminating Saturday mail service, closing up to 3,700 postal locations, and laying off a staggering 120,000 workers, or nearly 1/5 of the agency's workforce, despite a no layoffs clause in the union contract. But you know how those union contracts work. You did see the governor of Wisconsin, didn't you? We just passed a law that states that contract means nothing. It's null and void. And anything we owed you or any kind of benefits, that's also null and void. They just did the same thing in, was it Rochester or Rhode Island? Maybe it was in New Jersey. I don't remember. I did a video on it where, hey, we need to, you retirees, you pensioners, we need to have an agreement here before we file bankruptcy. We need you to accept a 50% haircut. The union said, no way in hell were you accepting that. And they even said at the same time, if you guys don't agree to the 50% haircut, chances are the bankruptcy court's going to handle it and it'll just get wiped away. We're trying to work with you. No, we're not going to do that. Okay. Bankruptcy court, all contracts, all money owed, null and void. Have a nice day. So, even though there's a layoff clause in the union contract, doesn't mean crap. Doesn't mean anything. As he's basically saying, despite a no layoffs clause. Doesn't matter. That you can put anything in there. When the government changes its mind in mid-game, they just pass a law. It's that easy. Yeah, we had a contract in writing. Yeah, we did. We had a contract in writing. See that new law we just passed? Yeah. Now that contract's null and void. See how that works? Oh, but if I failed to produce on my side of the contract, I couldn't write my own little scapegoat way out, could I? No, you'd get thrown in jail. Oh, okay, that's cool. That's nice how that works. The post office's problems stem from one hard reality. It is being squeezed on both revenue and costs. As any computer user knows, the internet revolution has led to people and businesses sending far less conventional mail. At the same time, decades of contractual promises made to unionized workers, including no layoff clauses, are increasing the post office costs. Labor represents 80% of the agency's expenses, compared with 53% at United Parcel Service, which is UPS, and 32% at FedEx. Isn't that amazing? Its two biggest private competitors. Postal workers also receive more generous health benefits than most other federal employees. I thought they were going to say than most other people. They're actually saying they're better than most other federal employees. All federal employees have great health insurance for the most part. I'd hate to see what the post office workers get. Holy crap. The Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee will hold a hearing on the agency's predicament on Tuesday, which I guess is tomorrow. So far, feuding Democrats and Republicans in Congress, still smarting from the brawl over the federal debt ceiling, have failed to agree on any solutions. It doesn't help that many of the options for saving the Postal Service are politically unpalatable. The situation is dire. Thomas R. Carper, the Delaware Democrat who is chairman of the Senate subcommittee that oversees the Postal Service. If we do nothing, if we don't react in a smart, appropriate way, the Postal Service could literally close later this year. That's not the kind of development we need to inject into a weak, uneven economic recovery. Okay, let me correct you, Mr. Is this a senator or Congress? Oh, senator. Senator Carper. Listen, that's not the kind of development we need to inject into a weak. It's not weak. It doesn't exist. There's no recovery. Uneven. It can't be uneven because there's no recovery. Economic recovery. There can't be an economic recovery because there isn't an economic recovery. So it can't be weak and it can't be uneven because it doesn't exist. See how that works? Isn't that interesting? Mr. Carpenter, or Senator Carper, I guess you didn't understand that. You're still buying the crap that there's an economic recovery. Yet, you don't see, you're on the head of this committee or part of this committee that's been following this. You don't see an issue here going on with the country, finances. Huh, isn't that interesting? So, anyways, that's enough. I can read. It's got 2 pages long. No, I can stop right there. I've said enough. This country, God bless America. Let me get out the disclaimer. God bless America. God bless America, my home sweet. Oh, wait a minute. No, God's not blessing America. No, that's not happening. As a matter of fact, I think he might be about to set it on fire, so to speak. This country is not going through an economic recovery. This country is being dismantled from the top down. And if you have people in power at the top who, again, 535 congressmen and senators, total 535, pretty much dictate everything that's happening right now. They are the cause of everything that's happening right now. They are in control, which they're not really in control, but they have the control power of everything that goes on or doesn't go on because they say yes or no on these matters. And they're not, it's like they're not even looking. It's almost like, yeah, the babysitter's watching my kid, they're fine. They're out in the yard, they're fine. Yeah, but no one's out there watching. Yeah, they're okay. And they're just looking for, spend most of their day looking for campaign contributions. That's all they do. And not even realizing, like, the yard's on fire and the kids are outside on fire with the yard on fire. They're just focused on that campaign contributions, and I'm a senator, and I've got power, and I've got money, and I've got 3 houses in 3 different states, multi-million-dollar houses. I'm very important. I make very big decisions. I'm a very intelligent individual, or else how would I be here in this position? But you guys don't have a damn clue about anything that you guys do in that Oval, or not the Oval Office, but in Congress. You have no idea what the hell you're doing. You're on a different planet, and it's going to be the downfall of you, just like your particular forefathers before you, who had power, who were hung from light poles during some big revolution, killed, murdered, raped, everything. Happens every time in history. This time will be no different. I don't care what you think, or, well, times are different now. We've become tolerant, and we got to forgive everybody. That's nice and dandy until the big crisis hits. All that crap goes out the window when someone has the mindset of, I just lost everything. I thought there was a recovery. I've been paying all my bills this whole time, expecting a recovery. Now I have no money. I'm flat broke. I just lost my job. I can't get another job. Losing my house. My husband just left me, or my wife just left me. And that's it. Just something just snaps in their mind. Someone's going to pay for doing this to me. It may be the news agencies to start with. It may be straight to a senator or a congressman that person hates. And all it's going to be is some guy, I'm a Democrat, and them damn Republicans, they did this, even though it's both sides. But again, these people who are just embedded with party affiliations, as if it really matters. Team red or team blue, doesn't matter. But I'm a Democrat, that damn Republican did this, I'm going to go get him. And then you hear some story on the news. Some guy flies a small plane into, senator's home. Or just some nonsense, who knows. That's how it starts. And it doesn't get any better. So, anyways, gotta go. Take care.